Welcome to Salute to the Ears, where my family and I discuss everything Disney, from parks, food, and rides to travel tips, movies, and more. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a resort review episode of Salute to the Ears. I am your host, Jeremy Simon.
And I'm Erica.
And we're going to be comparing our resorts from our most recent trip to Walt Disney World.
So we went the beginning of June. But I have to pause before we really get into our resort review and say happy second anniversary to Salute to the Ears, because 2 years ago today we launched this little podcast, and we are so incredibly grateful for all of you for listening and joining in with us on Instagram and Twitter and all the new friends we've made. And so happy anniversary.
Yay, yes. Yeah, hopefully new, bigger things are coming.
Yes.
We got some ideas, we got some plans, but let's see if we make them happen.
Yes.
Yeah, so we can kind of keep it growing.
So let's jump into our resort review. So we actually did a split stay in June. This trip was Brooklyn's 13th birthday trip, and so we kind of let her help guide where we were staying.
Right, and this is actually the second time in a row we've done a split stay.
It is. We did a split stay last time as well when just the two of us went in 2020, but that was a little different, I think, just because it was 2020.
Right.
So things weren't quite the same as far as like...
It wasn't open quite the same as it is now. So yeah, that was most definitely different. The two places we stayed at this time, we stayed in two deluxes. So right off the bat with both of these, price is an issue. But we were able to use our military rate for one, and they had another promo going for the other. So we did not pay like rack rate for either one of these.
Yeah. And part of staying in these was, one, to get one of the resorts off our bucket list, and really off Dad's bucket list.
Right.
One we've stayed in before.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, but we've stayed there with the kids before when they were really little. And so the first resort we stayed in and we arrived in was Animal Kingdom Lodge. And the other resort we stayed in was Wilderness Lodge. And I kind of want to go through this of like, let's talk about Animal Kingdom Lodge. Let's talk about Wilderness Lodge. And then we're going to compare them, because there is a lot of overlap being deluxes.
Right.
There's a lot of similarities that all of the deluxes share, as far, same way Moderate share a lot of the same amenity types of things in the value resorts as well. So there are things that overlap, but I don't want things to get jumbled as we're talking about them, because some of those things do overlap.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think one of the first things that really jumps out to you with Animal Kingdom Lodge is the theming.
Oh, yeah.
It's, as soon as you walk through the door, you know it's Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Yes.
There's no denying it. With the tall beams, the African masks, just the way it's set up, and the tribute to like Africa and the animals, it's definitely Animal Kingdom Lodge.
For sure. And the theming is absolutely beautiful. I actually really enjoy the way the lobby smells. So they have this big fireplace going,
mm-hmm.
and the way that it just has this very like rustic, I don't know if it's just to mask the potential smell from outside, but it does. It just smells very earthy, and I really like that.
It is. It's a good smell. It still doesn't beat Grandestino for me.
It does not beat Grandestino, but it is a good
It's still a good smell.
It's different than the other resorts.
Right. But I think that goes with part of the theming now.
Oh, for sure.
With Disney resorts, is each one really has its own smell, and they've really done a good job of making sure that each one is noticeable, and distinct.
So we stayed over in Jambo House, and we did that for a couple of reasons. We requested Jambo House which is the main building attached to the lobby. And we wanted the closer access to restaurants.
Right.
And and transportation and things like that. Like we wanted to be closer to that. And we also did have Savannah rooms, which is available in both. Kidani Village or Jumbo House, but that was our preference, was to stay over in Jumbo House. Now, we had 2 rooms because Dad had his own room and then we had a room, and we actually faced 2 different directions for Savannah views, which was really, really interesting to me, as far as, you know, views. Like I had it set in my mind that there was only one.
Yeah, and that's some reason that was in my mind too, of really there was only one Savannah that you would see.
But there's actually multiple.
Right. And his view was most definitely different than our view. And you and Brooklyn got a different view than Jackson and I did, because you guys got to the room before we did.
Yeah. It was really interesting. And so the views in general around the resort are really, really pretty, but you are limited more so as far as like where you can walk around the resort. You really have more pathways that you really have to, you know, you're guided by paths along all the resorts, but there's no crossing, you know, cutting across the middle of the resort, because that's Savannah. And so you are a little bit more limited about how you get around and the ways you have to get around Animal Kingdom Lodge, but it is very open and accessible. Right.
And I feel like the theme from the lobby, which is big and grand and very African inspired, and big windows overlooking the Savannah.
So pretty.
So pretty. Is carried on down the hallways, because you have like lookout points in the hallways where you can overlook the Savannah. So if you don't have a Savannah view, you still get to see the Savannah.
And chairs at a couple of those different points. Like there's little balconies with chairs out there. So even if you don't have a Savannah view room, you have the opportunity to go and sit on a balcony and watch them without having to, you know, necessarily pay for that Savannah room upgrade, because, you know, that is a different price point between Savannah and non-Savannah view rooms. It is a large, I mean, it's a deluxe resort. It is a large building. We were quite a ways down the hallway.
That's what I was going to say. Just because everything's indoors in this, don't think you're right next to
the lobby.
Yeah, and right next to the restaurants. It may be a walk. So if you got somebody who has difficulty walking long distances, they may still have to use their scooter to kind of get around to some of these places, because some of these, like the Mara, their quick service, is not necessarily easy for everybody to get to. And it was a bit of a hike from our room to there.
Yeah, and kind of a roundabout way, again, because of where the Savannah is at and accessibility to that. So whereas some of the other resorts have outlets at different points down those hallways, you know, where you can get outside and get to different, you know, parts of the resort, you don't have that there. But I do want to talk about our room.
Yeah, absolutely.
They redid the rooms in Animal Kingdom Lodge. I want to call it recently, but it wasn't that recent.
I want to say it was just prior to COVID.
Yeah.
If I remember right.
And they really, really, really were done so well. I didn't hate the way that they were before.
No, but they were definitely dark and kind of outdated.
They were definitely a little more outdated, and this feels, it felt fresh. It felt very clean. It felt very organic. And I don't I hate using that term because I think it gets overused a lot, but it felt very organic. And when Brooklyn and I got there, of course, this was labeled, you know, we had put in the system and had our travel agent, you know, put notes in that this was Brooklyn's birthday trip. So when we walked in, the TV said, "Happy birthday, Brooklyn." You know, and that was really special. But the room itself is laid out like many of the other double or king bedrooms. Like it's laid out basically like a normal hotel room.
Yeah.
Like you would think of you're staying at a nice, you know.
Two queens. Got your balcony that overlooks the Savannah. Has a little refrigerator. You got your bathroom as soon as you come in, which barn door, if I remember right.
Yes.
Yes, barn door. all the new ones are kind of going to the barn door after they
Barn
redo
door
them.
and pocket doors
Right.
As well. Pocket doors, like especially for the shower toilet room, tends to be but they have decent locking mechanisms on them.
They do. The vinyl floor, and then the space underneath the bed where you can slide your luggage. So you got
did
the
really
space.
like the last updated room like this that we had stayed in was Gran Destino, and I do like the wardrobes now to put your stuff in versus having like a closet.
Right.
It is still a closet, but like the way that it's fashioned as a wardrobe with shelving, and you still have a dresser, and you have a lot of space to put stuff away.
Right.
There's space to hang things up. And one of my favorite features was we actually had a steamer in the room rather than an iron and an ironing board. And what I'm not sure on, and I need to get clarification on. If you know the answer to this, put it in the comments. Send me a message on Instagram. Did everybody go to having that, or is that just a deluxe resort thing?
I don't know. No, because it was a steamer. It said steamer/iron, so you could use it as an iron, but we never needed to.
Mm-mm.
We just could use it as a steamer, and it heated up fast, able to get all the wrinkles out of our clothes and not look like we just rolled out of our suitcase.
We did bring a small steamer with us because we typically travel with that. We use that way more than the iron at home anyway. That thing gets used almost daily. And so it was a nice addition to having that.
Yes.
Had the coffee maker. One thing I love in the new redone rooms, almost every single redone room has this right now, is these little reading lights tucked into the headboard.
Yeah, no, those are nice.
And they're like a little stick light, almost like a pen flashlight type thing, but a little bit bigger. And you just pop it out of the headboard and it turns on. And when you want to turn it off, you put it back.
In. Yep.
And it is the right amount of light to leave on. If everybody else in the room is sleeping and you still need a little light to be on your phone, to read, No,
it's nice.
You need to get up and go to the bathroom. You just want to make sure there's some light so you don't stumble, in the middle of the night. It's not super bright.
Yep. Other thing I'm going to throw out there, because you mentioned a coffee maker, and I'm going to throw this out there. If you can't drink half and half, or you don't like half and half, and you drink coffee and you need creamer, you're going to have to bring your own creamers.
Yeah.
Because they ain't got them. They ain't there.
It used to be that the resorts had, down in the quick service restaurants, had multiple flavored creamers.
Yeah.
From Coffee Mate or International Delight. I don't remember which one.
No, Animal Kingdom did not.
Right.
Wilderness did.
Yeah. So. But just plan on, if you need alternative milks, they do sell some down in the gift shop where they have the store part. They do sell some milk alternatives. So you can, and some flavored coffee creamer, you can get that. Right. But just as a heads up. So that was one thing that wasn't. I did really like, I felt like we had enough space.
Right. I did too.
I thought it was fine.
Plenty of space. They've done a good job. In all the rooms they're adding IP. And they're trying to add, sometimes it's subtle. And in here it was Lion King. Like we had the Lion King, is that sunrise, whatever, behind the coffee pot.
Yes.
Behind the coffee maker. And then I think there was a couple other little splashes of stuff in there.
Yeah, but it wasn't
over
overdone.
the top. Yeah.
And it was nice. It looked and it fit really, really well.
Right.
Now, here is one thing I will say about having a Savannah View room.
Right.
You are not guaranteed that you are going to see animals out there all the time.
No.
Brooklyn and I got really lucky that when we went to the room, the boys were dealing with luggage.
I think so.
And they were doing something with that. Brooklyn and I went ahead and went to the room, and we had all kinds of animals out. By the time the guys got there, you saw them for a few minutes, I think.
No giraffes.
No giraffes. We saw zebras. But then Dad's room across the hall from us.
Uh-huh.
And so looking out other side of the building.
Right.
He had giraffes.
Okay.
And so, you were not, there were other times when we were in the room and there was nothing, even early in the morning. So weather is very dependent on that. Which savanna they are out on, which animals are out on that savanna is very dependent on, time of day, weather, who's being cooperative, who's
Right.
not. But if you do get to view them, you know, even for like the 30 minutes that Brooklyn and I did, it was awesome because, I mean, it was so quiet.
Right.
You could hear the zebras eating.
Yeah.
Like, that was really cool to be able to have, like, where you could just really hear them just being zebras, rather than like when you're on the safari in Animal Kingdom, you know,
Right.
you don't really get to, like, yeah, you see them, but you don't get to hear those animals and doing what they're doing. And that was kind of cool to hear them.
Right. So we enjoyed the room.
Yes.
Beautiful room. Great view. And one of the other big things that goes with the resorts is, of course, the pool.
Yeah.
You and I did not necessarily enjoy the
No.
pool. The kids did.
The kids did.
So this is kind of like their review of the pool through us. They both liked how it's a big pool.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty decent sized pool. Water was warm. They enjoyed it. It's not as themed as some of the other pools,
Mm-hmm.
but each village, like Jumbo House and Kidani, has their own pool.
Right.
So, and I think now they're both open because at one point one was closed and then it opened and they closed the other one, but now both of them are open.
Right.
That's nice because you get everybody from both villages or whatever, both houses, into one pool. It could get crowded because it's a fairly large resort,
Yes.
but pool's heated. Kids enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of seating around, and it's close to the food.
Yes. So the Jumbo House side definitely has, it's close to the Mara, which is your quick service restaurant there.
Right.
So that's nice. There's lots of outdoor seating for the Mara.
Mm-hmm.
So you could potentially put, you know, be at the pool, be poolside, put in a mobile order.
Right.
Just run over there, grab your food, and sit outside and eat.
Right, and there's a poolside bar right
Mhm.
there too, so you can get drinks. I didn't look to see what they have for like snacks and that kind of stuff. I'm guessing they probably have some little stuff. But it's really kind of your access point. Also, you got the pool, but then when you go back inside, that's kind of your access point to several of the restaurants in Jumbo, which the restaurants in Jumbo House were good.
Oh, yeah.
The Mara,
busy.
yeah, very busy. The Mara, their quick service. When we did it before, it seemed like there was definitely more of a variety of things. I felt like this time, especially for lunch, it was pretty basic.
I do too, and I do kind of wonder is that it's so hard. It's so
Right.
hard because the last 2 years have just jacked up supply
Right.
and opportunity, you know, food offerings and stuff around the parks and around
Right.
the resorts. I mean, that's not just limited to their, you know, it seems like a lot of that has shifted in
Right.
general, you know, and gotten better. But yeah, I mean, it was good. It was totally fine for a
Right.
quick service, but there wasn't anything like, oh my gosh, this is really,
Right.
you know, like,
Yep. And we used it more for breakfast than we did
yeah.
anything, and it was a pretty straightforward Disney resort breakfast.
Yeah,
Like,
but it was good.
it was
wasn't
good.
bad.
No, it's fine. Like, Brooklyn's happy. She got her Mickey waffles, and
I had is that where I had the croissant? I think I had the croissant sandwich there for breakfast, the ham
Yeah.
and cheese croissant sandwich, and it was pretty good.
yeah, I think we're gonna have a whole nother episode where we kind of break down some of the restaurants, and one of them we'll probably end up breaking down is Boma, which
Yes.
is right there.
So Boma's a buffet,
Right.
and I mean, tons of different
Right.
options of things. Yes, some things that are very
Exotic.
exotic and culturally based, but they were so good.
Right.
Lots and lots of different options, but it is incredibly busy and very loud in there.
Right. It
so
is.
just
It
as a
is.
heads up,
Yep.
like that is a busy restaurant.
Right.
So if you are looking for a buffet that is a little calmer, that's not it.
No, but for I hear a lot of locals and a lot of the vloggers and podcasters that are local down there, Animal Kingdom is their foodie lodge.
Yeah.
They love Boma, they love Sanaa, and they love Jiko.
Yeah.
We didn't get to go to Sanaa or Jiko. So
One, we just didn't really have
we didn't
time.
have time.
Day one was our travel day, and we went straight from the resort
Right.
to Animal Kingdom park.
Right.
And then we were there, and then we got up the next morning, went straight to Hollywood Studios,
Right.
and we were there all day.
Which those two are really the closest park to that hotel
Yeah, that really does bring us into transportation
and location.
and location because
It's out there.
I love I love how quiet it is out there. I love the serenity of Animal Kingdom Lodge. But you have to plan like an hour ahead
Right.
for going anywhere, because it is just going to take you forever to get where you want to go.
Right.
It is the farthest away from any park other than Animal Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go to Animal Kingdom, that's a quick jump.
Real quick ride.
But you want to go anywhere else. Hollywood Studios is the closest. Epcot's the next closest. Magic Kingdom is the farthest.
Right.
And it just...
Right. And it's bus or nothing.
Yeah.
As far as free transportation.
Right. You can Uber.
You can Uber, minivan now.
Yeah.
There are other ways to do it, but as far as Disney free transportation, it's a bus and bus only.
Yeah.
And
they do... I did feel like they did a good job of keeping... Because it's so far out there... did a good job of like keeping a good schedule of like buses coming, like in a good loop of buses coming. I think you kind of have to with that one. Otherwise you will have people waiting 30 minutes for a bus, and that's not okay.
The only time we were waiting was Hollywood Studios Day, and it pulled off as we were basically walking up. We were the first ones not on that bus.
Right.
So we had to wait a little bit.
Maybe we were going to make it.
Yeah. And that bus was full, and we just had to wait a little bit for the next one to come around. But for the most part, I mean, it wasn't longer than any of them we've ever had to wait for before. I feel like they had a pretty good circulation going of them.
We have not stayed at all the deluxes. We have not. I have stayed at more deluxes than you have.
Right.
We have visited several, or at least seen, like... really looked at in depth. Where does this one rank for you as far as the deluxes?
I think I want to answer that after we talk about Wilderness.
Okay.
So let's talk about Wilderness first, and then I will kind of rank where it's at for me. So we went from Animal Kingdom Lodge. We actually went to Typhoon Lagoon that day, and we've kind of talked about the transportation issue with that. You have to go to Springs and then to Typhoon Lagoon. But then from Typhoon Lagoon to Wilderness Lodge, right?
Right. And
then we walk into the lobby of Wilderness Lodge, and hello.
We have officially said that if we can ever become DVC members, this will be our home resort.
Right.
If there's any possibility of that, because we all fell madly in love with Wilderness Lodge.
It's just I'm an outdoorsy lodgy guy.
Yeah, you like to fly fish and
right. So the whole big national park lodge is something that is awesome to me. To begin with, big log cabin.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Yeah, we all really do like that. It feels very at home to us. If we're talking about theming, there are some similarities there that cross over between Animal Kingdom Lodge and Wilderness Lodge. You have these big wood beams, and so like there is some crossover there as far as that, but Wilderness Lodge really has this rustic elegance about it.
Yeah,
there's nothing about it that feels run down or like there's nothing about it that feels small either.
No, and it's not small.
It is not small. Now, here's one thing I will say about the theming. I love the theming in the lobby. I loved the theming around the resort, outside. I loved the way that things are set up, even like the lights, that are outside on the building, and like the way that the windows are shaped. And I loved all of it except the hallways going to your room.
Right.
I felt like I was walking down a Holiday Inn hallway or some other regular hotel.
Yeah.
There was no theming other than the carpet.
Right.
The carpet had some theming. That's it. The walls were white.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't like this.
Right.
It didn't fit for me. That's the only piece that I didn't like and didn't feel like it matched the theming, whereas like at Animal Kingdom Lodge, it felt like the theming continued down the halls.
Right. I think part of it goes to, because this is another one where the rooms were just recently renovated.
Right.
Right. And one of the complaints about it before was it felt dark. So I think they really put in an effort to try and brighten and lighten it up as much as possible.
Oh, I agree.
I agree. It feels like they're going down the hallway. They kind of lost some of that theming a little bit.
It needs some artwork down the like some more like around the resort. You have these beautiful pieces of antique artwork, maps, different things. Like put up some framed maps or things like that. Like it just needed something between. There were just large blank spaces, and maybe that's coming. Maybe that's not finished yet as far as that part. Maybe they're still working on that. But that was the only like downside to me of that. One of the spaces that I absolutely love. So Wilderness Lodge is also a DVC resort and has a whole section of DVC stuff. One of the things that they have, and all DVC resorts have these, they have some sort of big lounge game room type,
right?
Some sort of lounge that you can just go hang out in, and you don't have to be a DVC member to get it. It's like open,
right?
But this one is known on the side as the train room,
right? Yeah,
and it is like, it's attached to the train room. The train room is attached to that space, to the lounge space. It's kind of around the corner. It is so cool. Like I could have just spent all day in there.
Right.
And hung out. Like that will be where I would hang out. And what's really nice is that if you're staying in a deluxe like that and your room is a little, with the amount of people you got in there and it's a little tight, whatever, you can utilize that space as like an extra living room.
Right. No, because it had like its fireplace and couches, and I think it had like ping pong. And
it had a few different game type things, and it has books, it has board games, it has lots of stuff that you can do and utilize, which is really nice.
Right, and you're just able to go back there and kind of relax and enjoy it. And it was more of an intimate space compared to the lobby, like the main lobby of Wilderness Lodge, which is big and grand. And
right. It felt way more intimate, but it still felt still felt like an extension of that.
Right.
Of the lobby, of the overall theming, and it has lots of history things and replica things from with Walt's love of trains, and really my dad's family especially, like trains are a whole huge like part of what they love, like in what my grandfather grew up with, like or had model trains. When I was growing up, the whole living room was turned into a model train.
Right.
Like whole like layout. So we grew up with that, and so that was kind of cool to have like the model train things and like the Walt's love of them.
Yeah, it kind of felt like if Walt were to stay at a resort, this is the one he would stay at, with his love of the outdoors and his love of trains. And then some of the classic animation stuff of like Snow White. There was a lot of Snow White and Seven Dwarfs stuff there.
We'll talk about that when we talk about food for sure.
Yeah.
We ended up staying in 2 separate rooms. So we talked about in the transportation one a little bit about the fact that we ended up extending our stay by a day because of a medical emergency. And so our original room was a 2-bed.
Right.
It was a double bed,
right,
regular room.
Yep. Normal standard with a nature view.
Had a really great view. Dad was in a king room, similar layout, just king bed rather than the doubles. So, again, pretty standard room layout, pretty standard, idea for that. If you look at pictures of the different deluxe rooms or even some of the moderates, I feel like it's a very similar layout to the way they've redone a lot of the moderates.
And it's actually one of the complaints is some of the ways that they're doing the deluxes and moderates. There's not a whole lot of difference. It's the same, not the same hard floor, but it's a hard floor nonetheless. Very, I don't want to say modern, like dressers and stuff like that, but they all have like wardrobes now or closets like that. And then the dresser and like very similar things into rooms, just different styles.
One thing I can't remember, like I'm trying to go back in my brain and remember which room had the older bathtub in it. the smaller bathtub in it.
That would have been
One of them had just a shower.
Animal Kingdom.
Animal Kingdom had the bathtub, and Wilderness had just the shower.
I think so.
I'm gonna have to go back at pictures and
Right.
look.
They've both been redone. It
Right.
just one was just a shower and one was a bathtub with a shower.
Mm-hmm. And you know, the room itself was nice. There wasn't anything about it that we were, you know.
No, it was a nice room. The IP in that room is Bambi.
Mm-hmm.
So you see some Bambi stuff kind of popping up, and it was kind of soft, subtle colors.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, had a balcony.
Yes.
And we actually had, with our nature view, if you were looking, you could see the theme park not that far off.
Yeah, you could see the entrance to Magic Kingdom. You could see the clock tower at the front, like lit up, especially at night.
Like
you could
where the
really
train
see
station is.
where the train station is at the front, and then you could actually see one of the spires from the castle.
Right.
When it was lit up, so that was kind of cool that you could
Which,
could tell that it was like just right there.
Yeah. At first we're like, what's that? And Brooklyn picked it up like right away. That was like one of the things she noticed right away.
She's our noticer.
And she's like, I think it's this, and I'm both like, I don't know. And then
so we pull up the map too, and we're like trying to figure out like, hey, well, we're here,
right,
in the resort. So where would we be looking? And sure enough, and then once at night it was lit up, we were like, oh yeah, you're definitely right.
Right.
This was, I do think the layout of Wilderness Lodge is decent.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't love the long, like this is me being like nitpicky about it because it's not bad. But there is a long ramp hallway to go down to where you get to the section the part of the building that our room was in.
Mm-hmm.
And you pass the quick service restaurant to get there, and which was fine. Like that all was fine, but like trying to get luggage back up that ramp,
right,
not very easy when it weighs almost 50 pounds.
Right. And that part is carpeted.
It's part carpeted.
Yeah.
It has like almost like built-in rugs is the best way I can describe it. Where like it's sections of carpet, but it's tile around it.
Right.
So it's not like the rug is laid over tile.
Mm-hmm.
It's like inset. So you kind of had to keep your luggage to the side where the tile was to keep it rolling well. And that ramp was long, and it was not like you go down an entire floor.
Right.
In that process. And so that was there at the very end of our trip, trying to haul our luggage back up to the top was a little difficult.
For the second time.
That was probably my only complaint as far as like layout.
Right.
But I do feel like they do a really good job of guiding you around the different walkways and pathways, and they're all so green and lush, and you just feel like you are out in the woods. You do not feel like you are in Orlando anymore. You do not feel like you are in
Disney World.
It just feels like you are out in the woods at a big lodge.
It was very quiet. It's the balcony, which you can sit on that balcony and drink coffee, and it'd be good and quiet and enjoy some quiet time there. Now, we did end up staying in another room while we were there as well, due to that medical emergency. And this one was different, much different than what we were staying in before, because this was all they had left.
Yeah.
And this one...
Supposedly. But it worked.
Right. This is like a one-bedroom, like, BBC room. So you'd walk in, and...
You walk in, and straight ahead is... you kind of have a little hallway space that's got your wardrobe, and then you've got a living room area, and your quote-unquote balcony is off of that. We were bottom floor, so we had a space out there, but it was not a balcony.
Right.
And we did have a couple chairs out there, which was so you could still enjoy that, but had a pull-out couch there. A little table and chairs, and then you had a little kitchenette type space. You had a sink, a fridge, some shelves, a microwave, all the cups and
coffee maker
stuff,
and all
coffee
that,
maker and all of that. So that was nice. You had a little kitchenette thing.
Right.
So when in ours, when you walked in and you have this little hallway space, to the left was the wardrobe and to the right was an entrance to the bathroom. The bathroom was essentially a Jack and Jill. Like, think of it that way, of like one entrance to the hallway and then one entrance from the bedroom part.
Right.
The bedroom part itself, so you have a pull-out couch, right? So you can use that for a bed. But then the bedroom had 2 double beds.
Yeah.
Or 2 queen beds.
2 queens.
And so that had an entrance to the vanity part of the bathroom as well. And then, as all the resorts have right now, there is a separate tub and shower door. So you could get to the vanity part from either side, and then had the separate tub and shower door inside there. But you had a desk and a dresser and a TV in the bedroom. You had a TV out with some storage space underneath. Wasn't drawers, but it had storage space underneath in the living room part.
Right.
Really nice. You had windows in the bedroom, which was nice, rather than just the sliding glass door like we had in the other room. And
Yeah, it was a double sink.
So that was really, like, I would 100% stay in that again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, that so far has been my favorite room that we've stayed in.
I think for like a family of 5 or 6, that works, depending on how you break down the beds. But for us, because it was 5 of us staying in that room, it worked out. It worked out well.
It worked out really, really well. And I would. It was probably one of my favorites. So again, you have options there, which is really nice. And it's not just DVC rooms. It's not that have some of those suites. It's not just single room. Like, you have some options there. And that was one of my favorite things.
Right. And one of the other good things about this room is it had a pretty quick access to the pool. Yes. Which the kids took in. It was late at night, just like the last hour before it closed. Which was, I think it closed about 11 or something like that. And they were enjoying the pool. Because, one, it wasn't crowded. I think if it was crowded, they may have had a little bit of a different impression with it. Because it's not a big pool. It's not real big. It's themed really well.
Now, there is another
pool with with Boulder Creek and the DVC. This pool is not real big, but it does have the slide. And they both have said that they enjoyed this pool more than the Animal Kingdom pool, because of the theming with it, and just they said the way the surrounding environment. So they both really liked that pool. Water was warm. Lifeguards were fantastic. I mean, like they always are. But that was definitely their favorite. And once again, with the pool, you got another little bar right there, and it's close. This pool was close to, not that far away anyway, from quick service inside, and then Geyser Point, which is down just a little bit. It's kind of in between the two.
You had a lot of amenities that felt very accessible from different, whether you were staying on the Boulder Creek side or whether you were staying on, actually at the lodge. Like, it felt like you had a lot of amenities that you could easily get to, which was really nice.
Right. There are multiple restaurants again at this. Everything from quick service at Roaring Forks, which we would use for breakfast like every day. Geyser Point, which we got dinner from one night and brought it back to the room. And then you got, was it Artist Point?
Artist Point is it is a specialty dining and a character dining experience. Right. And you get to meet not only Snow White, but you also get to meet the Evil Queen. And so it is a highly coveted reservation, but looked so incredible. Right. I had one of my little, you guys know, I love watching little kids and get to enjoy the magic of Disney parks. Like, it's one of my absolute favorite things. I cry at least once a trip seeing a little kid get to do something or dressed up some way or, whatever, and happen to see a set of twins One of them dressed as Snow White. One of them dressed as the evil queen. And they were so cute in their little capes and their little, like, dresses and everything. I was like, oh my God. I was very tempted to ask their parents if I could take their picture for the podcast because I just was like, so cute. It definitely is it's a higher end
right
meal. I believe it counts as signature dining. Does it not? It's signature dining. I really did like Geyser Point though too.
No, Geyser Point is like for quick service. They got some good options like salmon and everybody loves their bison burger. I didn't get it because I didn't necessarily want a burger.
Go ahead.
What? Oh, but its location, like it sits on the water.
Mm-hmm.
It's very peaceful. It's very relaxed, and I understand why a lot of people call this their favorite lounge.
Yeah,
because it's almost like you are somewhere completely different, sitting on a lake, just hanging out.
Yep. What's the other one that's inside the lobby? The one with the ketchup.
Whispering Canyon, is that it?
I think so.
Yeah.
They have a really fun dining experience there of don't ask for ketchup unless you really want ketchup because you are going to participate in the moving of the ketchup.
Right. It's definitely a restaurant where they got all kinds of shenanigans and fun things going on. And the more you partake and the more you relax, I think the more you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
If that is not something that you would like, it may not be the place for you.
Right. It is table service dining, but it is not signature dining.
Right.
So think of it more like typical table service Americana.
And a lot of this stuff comes in skillets. So like a barbecue skillet, and they got different skillets for breakfast, and very kind of, don't want to say rustic type foods, but
Western Americana. I mean, it looked delicious. Dad did eat there one day. He had a really amazing looking salad.
Right.
Like, really nice. Lots of different, things on it. Really well put together. So, I do want to talk about transportation with Wilderness Lodge.
Yep.
We are quickly running out of time to be able to compare these two and not drown you guys in information. Multiple points of transportation from Wilderness Lodge, and that is incredible.
Right. You've got the buses, and then you also got the ferries, the boats that go from Wilderness Lodge to Magic Kingdom.
Yes.
Which, just like the Jungle Cruise, it can become really fun depending on your skipper.
Yes, and we did talk about this in transportation, so I don't want to harp on it, because we did talk about this in our transportation episode, and if you missed that, it's previous episode to this one. But the thing I loved was that you did also have direct bus access to go over to Fort Wilderness.
Right.
So if you want to make a reservation, go to Hoop-de-Doo Review and go, eat over there. Super easy. You don't have to get an Uber. You don't have to get a taxi. You don't have to do anything else. You can just get on a bus and go over to Fort Wilderness. And then you also have the trail rides and those kind of things over there. You've got stuff to do over there. So you get to enjoy essentially two resorts.
Right. And
they're the same. They're part of one big property, but two very different resorts.
And you have easy access to all the other Magic Kingdom resorts from there as well. So you can enjoy some of those things, whether you're going to Contemporary and Steakhouse 71 or Ohana at Poly. You can make your way over there and get on the monorail fairly easy to get to those places. Yeah,
so we ate at Steakhouse 71. We took the ferry over. Or no, we took the bus. We took the bus over to Magic Kingdom, and then we walked to Contemporary.
Right.
You do have to go through security to get to that, which is kind of a pain, but understandable. It only takes a couple minutes.
Yeah.
But for that reason, the transportation reason, for the fact that you can see, depending on the room that you have, you might even be able to see a few flickers
You can probably see fireworks
of fireworks
there at night.
depending
Absolutely.
depending on where your room
Well, I
is.
know you can because if you stay in the big fancy cabins, you
Oh,
can
yeah.
stay in your hot tub with the music piping
that's
in
right.
and watch
That's
the
right. That's
fireworks.
right.
Yeah.
So there are places there where you can see fireworks. And I love the location of Wilderness Lodge. I was a little worried about where it is on the lakes in front of
Right.
Lake and Lagoon in front of Magic Kingdom, in comparison to the other Magic Kingdom resorts.
Right.
I was a little concerned that it was just going to be a big pain as far as, getting around and feeling like not, I don't know, because it's a little ways away from all that other stuff. And so
it is. But I think that location is part of what I really like about this resort.
Yeah.
Is you can still see that stuff in the distance, but at the same time, the resort feels very peaceful and not necessarily part of the chaos of Disney World.
Yes. Which I think, it ended up being really nice.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at both of these resorts, they do have a lot of similarities. Right. They do have a lot of things about them that are very, both of them are named Lodge.
Right.
Right. Like, so there are overlapping qualities between these two resorts. Some of that is the peacefulness and the scenery and, all the greenery, all the, theming, like there are very overlapping things.
Right.
And then they are both DVC resorts. You do have DVC options at both of them. You do have,
you have the options for great views at both of them.
Yes.
They're both, even though they're both indoors, you are still going to be kind of sprawled out a little bit. So don't think you're necessarily going to be right next to the restaurants. Like you're still going to have to walk to get to them. So they got a lot of things in common. But I think for me, when I'm looking at everything, overall, I like Wilderness better than Animal Kingdom. I like the room size of Animal Kingdom. Those rooms are a little bit bigger, but not enough to like sway anything for me.
No, and yeah, they might have been just a smidge bigger, but unless you are there and utilizing that room and staying at the resort a lot.
Right.
Like here's the hardest part for us is that we tend to not spend a ton of time at the resort.
Right.
We're usually trying to pack in as much time as we can in the parks as possible and getting to do as many things as we can, just because our stays are not as long as we would like for them to be.
And we always regret not spending more time.
We always regret not spending more time at the resort. However, and we've said this before, unless you're doing a 2-week stay, you're not going to be able to do everything. I do encourage you though, like these both have great things where you can spend a resort day and it not feel wasted.
Oh, absolutely.
So like,
right.
Because there are times when like I think sometimes a resort day would feel very, very wasteful, but like these are ones that I don't think would. I feel like again though, Wilderness Lodge tops Animal Kingdom Lodge for me on that.
Yeah.
I feel like when we stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge when the kids were little, it was great because they did get to have this like up close experience with these animals that they really hadn't had a whole lot of before.
Right.
But it's hard for us because we have this amazing zoo here in Kansas City that they get up close encounters with a lot of the same animals.
Yep.
And Savannah type experience with a lot of the same animals. And so, really hard to be like, hey, this is such a unique experience that you've never gotten to have before. Like, it's hard for us. Not everybody's going to have that experience. No. So, like, we have that unique experience with our kids of a couple different kinds of zoos that they've gotten to, be at and have this unique animal experience. And so, for me, Wilderness tops, as far as like resort experiences for me on that.
Right. And I think as far as deluxe resorts go altogether that we've stayed in right now, Wilderness is my favorite. Mm-hmm. Granted, I haven't stayed in a whole lot of them.
Right.
But the big drawback for like Animal Kingdom for me is just the location of it.
Yeah.
Getting to the things that we want. And like we don't have as big of a draw to that one as some other people. Some other people might, just because we, like you said, we do have that great zoo. So Wilderness is definitely on top of my list of deluxe resorts.
I we've visited Grand Floridian and spent some
Right.
time there. We have spent a little bit of time around Riviera a couple times now. Again, haven't stayed at either of those, but we've spent some time in the resort and
Right.
seen it and,
Yeah.
and looked around. I have stayed at Yacht and Beach Club. I've stayed at Boardwalk. But years ago. So I mean,
Right.
they've been redone since then, but
Right.
still at least experiencing the resort
Right.
itself.
And we've stayed at Saratoga.
We've
and
stayed
been,
at Saratoga,
been to Old
Key West. We've stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge, Wilderness Lodge, and I would say, like, we've said this before. It all comes down to what do you want to get out of it,
Right.
right? Like, I'm probably, if you tell me that your number one thing that you're gonna want to do at Disney is just be at the parks, I'm not gonna necessarily encourage you to spend the money on deluxe.
No.
If you know you're going to want to take a break and have a resort day or half a resort day,
Right.
and you want to be able to, you want more restaurants, more sit down restaurants, more signature dining, more amenities with that, or you're going to have bigger split parties and things like that where you're going to need to be doing different things, then a deluxe may be a really good option for you.
Right.
And I absolutely 100%. I said this the other day. I was like, babe, we win Mega Millions.
Yeah.
One of those first big purchases is that DVC membership, and it is home resort of Wilderness Lodge, hands down. Like,
Right.
I could spend days and days
Right.
and days and days and
Right.
days there.
It
and
doesn't.
be totally
It doesn't
satisfied.
feel so fancy that you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that's what we'd run into at Grand Floridian and Riviera, which are both absolutely beautiful, but I don't know that I'd be as
I
comfortable.
wouldn't be comfortable there. And I honestly can say the same thing about Animal Kingdom Lodge. There is an elegance there.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
some people are probably going to laugh and be like, elegance at the place where there's,
Animals
running around. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
very elegant. And it has some real nice dining amenity, like,
Right.
I don't know. I don't know that you could talk me into staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge again unless, like, it's free.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could stay there again just so we could experience more of the food, but yeah, the location of it.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like you can experience the food without having to stay there.
That's true. You can. The location of it's not a good spot, but then if you go down to Moderates, my favorite is always, like I say it 1,000 times, is Grand Destino, which
Right.
isn't in a great location either. So
It isn't. It's not terrible.
no,
But the problem is just the transportation
right.
aspect.
that's a whole nother episode, I think. But, so we both agree.
This ranks number one? Wilderness ranks number one for you.
Right.
So where does Animal Kingdom rank as far as like deluxe resorts overall?
You see, in this one, I guess is kind of a hot take. I really enjoyed Saratoga Springs just because of its location. The
Right.
room had just been redone, been done really well, very and it was very peaceful when we woke up in the morning, overlooking the lake at Disney Springs.
Yeah.
And you have all that access walking over there, like 5-minute walk, 10-minute walk to Disney Springs.
Yeah, not even.
And have all that access to all those different restaurants. So for me personally, just because of that location, Saratoga Springs I feel is a vastly underrated resort,
Okay.
and I have a hard time putting above Animal Kingdom, but it's right there.
Yeah.
So
And for me right now, of the ones that we have personally stayed in, Animal Kingdom Lodge ranks at the bottom.
yeah,
Of the ones that we together have stayed in.
okay,
But I would say that I would put it above staying at Boardwalk.
okay, which has a big renovation coming.
It has a big renovation coming, and I'm really excited to see.
Because that location is like prime location.
And again, totally depends on what you want to do, because you've got Yacht and Beach Club and you've got Boardwalk that have this walking distance access to Epcot, and essentially
Right.
the Skyliner as well to get over to Hollywood Studios, because you come in International
Right.
Gateway, and so you have this access there that's great as far as transportation, but there's just not, it still feels like you are in the mix of all the Disney things. Like you
Right.
are right in it.
Right.
It feels busy. It feels a little more
Right.
chaotic
Yeah.
and all of that. So
Right.
I like the peacefulness of Animal Kingdom Lodge. And so that's why I would like, of the 3 we've stayed at, like it ranks bottom.
Okay.
That we've stayed at together, it ranks at the bottom. But out of all the ones I've stayed at, it doesn't necessarily hit the bottom for me.
Okay. Well, we would love to know what your opinions are on your favorite deluxe resorts, and you can do that on Twitter, Instagram. You can follow us at Salute to the Ears.
Yes.
And with that, this week, go out and find your joy.
And have a magical week.